Kingdom Come Deliverance, a game that divides opinion. The game is set in the medieval kingdom of Bohemia, an imperial state of the Holy Roman Empire, with a focus on historically accurate content. You play in the shoes of Henry, a blacksmith's son who is the complete opposite of the type of hero that we're used to playing in other games. If you were to play Skyrim, you would play the role of the Dragonborn, who is the chosen one sent to fight the threat of dragons. You travel the region, slicing all manner of monsters and enemies down. You could be an expert in every weapon and every skill. In Kingdom Come, you are the NPC that you see in town, barely getting by. It was a unique approach, but one that has put off many gamers. If you were to look back on blogs online or speak to some gamers, you'll often hear people state that they couldn't get into the game because it was either too hard or too complicated. Most role-playing games, your stats determine your success. If you're at level 5, you'll mostly be able to easily defeat any enemies at or below that level. If you fight something way above that threshold, the chances are you won't survive. But these levels always let gamers know where they stand. Kingdom Come has no enemy levels. When you first fight an enemy in the tutorial, 90% of the time a new player will lose that fight. When you're taught lockpicking, most players will break every lockpick and leave the lesson without seeing a successful attempt. When you're taught how to use a bow, your hands will shake and you'll be unable to get an arrow anywhere near a target just a few yards away. This upset some gamers and made them throw their controllers down in frustration, saying that the game should be easier, or it should have a difficulty option. But are they correct? Others say that the game's even too easy and it could be harder. So who is right? Well, let's get into it and find out. Is Kingdom Come Deliverance too difficult? Quick side note, I want to say thank you for watching this video. 3 months ago, I had 3 subscribers and they were all family members who hated video games. We're so close now to 1,500 subscribers, so if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I do weekly videos analysing single player games and I love the back and forth that I have with players in the comments. If you've already subscribed, thank you for your support and let me know if you have any suggestions of new games that you want covered in the future. Anyway, back to the video. So first of all, let's talk about why this game is considered difficult. First of all, the person we play as starts the game as a regular young man with little to no experience in life. When we are thrust into this giant open world and are left to fend for ourselves, we start every stat at level 1. In this selection we have strength, agility, speech among others. Combat includes axe skills, bow, mace, sword and even unarmed. There are side skills like alchemy, drinking, herbalism, horsemanship, houndmaster, lockpicking, maintenance, stealth, pickpocketing and even reading. Now all of these skills all start at 0. Henry has no talents at the start of this game. And so what? In most video games your stats start at nothing, right? So here's the difference. If you play a game like Skyrim, when you first use a bow and arrow, you can shoot effectively. You can aim well, use any bow in the game, and as you level up, your damage output will increase. But the use of the bow remains the same. It never changes from level 1 to 99. Now take this same skill in Kingdom Come Deliverance. When you first hold the bow, your hands will shake and you cannot hold it well. Your camera will sway back and forth, your stamina quickly drains and it seems impossible to get to grip with the mechanics. It's literally almost like it's bad game design, if you didn't know any better. See, if you check the bow stat, it says that until you reach level 5 in bow, you cannot hold it properly. So the game not only makes the stats lower, but it makes the actual mechanic of using a bow nearly impossible until you get to the required level. Same with swordplay. When you first start using the sword, you'll find it difficult. You will struggle to block, but also when you attack an enemy, you will swing the sword so slowly whilst they move quicker, almost like they have an unfair advantage. How can you beat them if you can only swing a sword at half their speed, whilst they can swing quicker? Well, that's because until you reach higher levels in swordsmanship, you'll not be able to swing very fast. Now once you get to the max level of 20, you can swing faster than any bandit. When you first use a lockpick, it will snap. In fact, they give you a tutorial on how to pick a lock and they give you 5 lockpicks to open a box. 99% of the time, the player will break all 5 and not be able to open this box. Why? Because the mechanic to open the lock is so against the player. You have to time the movement of the lock and the place of the pick in perfect harmony, but the icon shakes all over. If you even slip half an inch, the pick will break. It's nearly impossible. Bad game design again, right? Well, no. It's like this by design. When you first start picking locks, your margin for error and shakiness of your hands is so low that it's almost unfair. Once you get a few levels up, picking these locks is easier than it is in Skyrim. Your hand doesn't shake and the margin for error is so big that you rarely break a lockpick ever. Kingdom Come Deliverance is this experience over and over again for all the potential skills that you have access to. Not only are your stats low in general, but the game actually makes the experience even harder by having it work against you and makes the game mechanic particularly difficult. I have not seen another game do this before. When you first start the game, it is so hard. If you get in a fight, you'll most likely lose. If you try to shoot a target with a bow, you'll miss. You will fail every lockpicking attempt. I mean, you can't even read. In order to make potions, you need to read recipes. Until you actually learn how to read, that's not even an option. When you open books, words will appear scrambled. You're Henry, a regular guy who does not know how to do any of this stuff, and the game developers want you to know this. They want you to know that Henry can't do any of this stuff, and they want you to experience that as well. Our Henry at the moment won't be able to do basically any story content, so we need to get him stronger. So how does one level up? Well, practice, and not the type that you're thinking. In most games, if you want to level up your character, you probably go out into a dungeon and slay enemies to grind experience. In Kingdom Come, you have to repeat the skill, but in actual practice. At an early main quest, you're introduced to Bernard, who will teach you combat. He teaches you all the basics and how to use a sword and other weapons. Now most games will use this as a tutorial, so you know which buttons to press, how to fight, how to dodge, and you'll leave to never return. In Kingdom Come, they want you to come back and repeat this process. A lot. Almost as if you were actually living in real life and learning how to sword fight. If I wanted to learn sword fighting, I'd have to find a teacher and go for a lesson. Now after a 1-hour lesson, I'm not going to come out and be able to go toe to toe with masters of the craft. I'm still going to be pretty awful. So what would I do? I would have to go for another lesson, and then another, and another. Kingdom Come asks you to do this, but doesn't actually tell you to. You have to be the one to make these decisions with no guidance. If you hit that archery range every in-game day, followed by 2 hours of sword fighting practice, slowly but surely you'll level up your stats and finally become competent. Heck, you need to do this before you can even think of fighting an enemy. If you get caught by even a low-grade bandit, chances are that he's going to defeat you, and until you get successful at these skills. It turns a game into a realistic experience. Alongside this process of practicing your skills, you also need to eat food, to get sleep, to stay clean, to launder your clothes. The game is incredibly realistic. If you don't get enough sleep, your max health will drop and eventually Henry's eyes will start to close. If you're starving, your max health drops, and then if you eat too much food, you become stuffed and your max stamina drops. You have to keep on top of all of this. Even when you fast travel, you'll actually see your player travel across the map, and time continues to pass. You may get stopped and ambushed by bandits. Warhorse Studios tried to make this game as realistic as possible, and it sure worked. In life we learn quicker through failure. In this game, it's the exact same. If you enter the Rat-Eye tournament and battle someone but lose badly, you still come out with experience and leveled up stats, ready for your next battle. If you go and break all your lockpicks trying to open a chest, you'll come away defeated but with leveled up stats. You learn by doing. Now, even with all that said, the combat itself, no matter the level, is more involved than other games. In most games we get a button to attack, to block and then to dodge. We just need to hit the enemy more than they hit us. In Kingdom Come, it's a lot more realistic. The combat relies on watching your opponent closely and switching your stance to match theirs for defense. You have to block at the right angle and right time, and you have to swing from different directions, sometimes feint in order to pretend to go one way to fool the opponent. You also need to manage your stamina. It's actually an amazing combat system, and it's so rewarding once you get the hang of it. In a game like The Witcher 3, you'll be well versed in the combat after just a few minutes. In Kingdom Come, it's going to take a few hours and then even more practice on top in order to become competent. The payoff will be enormous, but the work to get there is long. Another thing that players struggle with is the saving system. Early on, we're given a drink called Save Your Snaps. In order to save, you have to drink one of these, or sleep in a bed that you own. There will be autosave in certain parts of quests, but the gaps between are sometimes huge. These drinks are hard to obtain at the beginning, and they're expensive. You can brew your own, but you need to learn the recipe, gather the ingredients, and even be able to read. Eventually, as a master alchemist, you could make hundreds of these drinks and you'll have unlimited saves essentially, but before that, there's a lot of risk. When you die and you lose hours of progress, it's going to be frustrating, especially after games like Skyrim introduce quick save, where you could save every few seconds just to be safe. It's a massive switch, and some players will find this daunting, but again, it pays off. In most games like Fallout or Skyrim, I rarely use my bed. I mean, why would I? I can go on forever without sleep. In this game, I made it a priority to sleep on time every day. Why? Because I needed the save. It adds risk to the game that is not in many others. For example, when you fast travel, you may be asked if you want to stop to explore something. You have to actually weigh this decision up. What if you stop and you get killed? How many hours of progress would you lose? Should I go to the next quest, or should I stop at the bar and stock up on Save Your Snaps? Should I use one now, or push it a bit further since I only have a couple left? It adds realism and immersion, and I can say that after you've experienced it, you'll learn to love it. But after coming from games where autosave is readily available, this will shock some players and perhaps put them off the game. I spent weeks of in-game time in a town. I would wake up, read a book to level up my reading skill, go make potions to upgrade my alchemy, go to the archery range for a few hours to level up my bow, and then I would go and train with Bernard to level up swordsmanship. Then I would go to bed and repeat. In most other games, I'm doing quests every day and travelling. This is the first game where I set myself an actual daily schedule, and it paid off. Some players might not enjoy that and just want to be able to go off and take on the world immediately. Now, this can divide players. On the one hand, I love this game. In fact, it's one of my favourite games of all time now, but if you'd asked a younger me back in 2018 his opinion, he had given up. I was one of those people who thought that the game was too hard. So the thing is, with most games, your character will start at a low level, but you can still do everything immediately. You can swing a sword immediately, you can use a bow correctly, you don't have these limitations. Not just that, but you'll usually start in an area full of level 1 enemies. You'll be able to go around and easily defeat everything with no difficulty. By the time you get to level 5 area, you'll be at or above that level, so you never really experience a complete demolition from an enemy, unless you purposely seek it out. Frustration is minimal. Not just that, but if it is too hard, pause the game and change the difficulty to an easier setting. Let's look at Skyrim for example. You start off in a dungeon at level 1 and you can easily kill everything in that dungeon with starting weapons and stats. You can change the game's difficulty at any time too, to the point where one hit will kill almost every enemy. This ensures that players can push on from the get-go. There are no barriers on where to go and what to do. They can pursue any quest or tackle any dungeon knowing that they will be able to get through it. With Kingdom Come, that is not the case. This can cause frustration from players who just want to get on with the game. If you tell them that in order to play the next main quest that they need to practice fencing with Bernard for another 5 hours, they will not want to experience that, or maybe they just don't have the time for it. Most players have been conditioned to the video game experience that I've just explained, where everything matches your level. The games are designed so that you can enjoy them as opposed to have to work at them. We're so used to being able to defeat the first enemies and being the chosen one, the strongest one, that when we do play the weakling, it dumbfounds us. We don't understand it, and what do people do with things that they can't understand? They get angry and frustrated. Now, another thing that causes issues is the lack of explanation. In most games, every time you unlock a new skill or you're about to learn something new, the game will specifically take the time to show you how to do it. It will explain in detail how to do it, have you actually do it, and then repeat it. It will then explain how to level it up and what to do next. The game holds your hand through the whole experience so that at no time you ever feel lost. Kingdom Come wants you to feel lost. Everything I've just explained right now to you about how the game makes things harder at low levels, or how you have to actually train before moving on in the game, it's not explained. Players are literally left to figure all this out by themselves. The reason? Well, because it's a realistic game. Nobody holds our hand in real life and explains every step on how to do things. We have to figure out all that by ourselves. Kingdom Come wants you to experience the same feeling. They want you to know you won't know everything, and that's okay. But by the way that games have been designed recently, this can lead to frustration when players can't figure it out. Kingdom Come was designed to be a realistic game, where players would start off awful at almost everything. They would have to practice to get good and be able to actually progress through the game. It's meant to be hard. It's meant to be confusing and unfair, because life in medieval times was. You are a blacksmith's son, not the Dragonborn. You have to earn your title here. Because of this unique design of a video game, many players will be completely put off and almost intimidated and put the game down for good. So is Kingdom Come Deliverance too difficult? The answer? Absolutely not. It's perfectly designed, and I'll explain why. It's all because of something called the payoff. So what is the payoff? Well, it's something that you can only get with games that are particularly challenging. Let's look at Elden Ring, Game of the Year from 2022 as an example, or actually Souls games in general. When you play these, there is no difficulty setting, and a lot of people have asked for this. These games are notorious for being hard and the player experiencing a lot of failure. So why are they so successful? Because of the payoff. Let's say you need to beat a boss to move forward in a game. You walk in, he beats you easily, and you don't land a glove on him. You have to beat him in order to progress in the game. You can't cheat, you can't go around him, you can't switch the game to an easier setting, but you have to get past him. Not your mates, not an NPC assistant, not even your character, you, the player. You gotta get past him. So you go back again and you're immediately slaughtered. You do this 5 times in a row. You're upset and frustrated, so you leave and fight other enemies to build up your stats. You come back and try again. You take off some of his health, but he still beats you easily. You go away again. You come back stronger. You're still losing to him, but you're matching him now. You're learning his moves. Each defeat is teaching you more. You're getting his health bar down a little bit more each time. You're getting so close. Then, finally, it happens. After the umpteenth time, you go in and you win. You beat him. You refuse to back down, and your tenacity has led to his defeat. You did it. Not anyone else, not a difficulty setting or enemy scaling or a secret weapon. It was you. You pump your fists in the air in celebration. You did it. That is the payoff. That is why Souls games are so successful. Once you experience that feeling, nothing else can match it. That feeling of accomplishment, that you earned it. Kingdom Come is the same experience on an even greater level. When you start this game, the mechanics are harder. You can't hold weapons correctly. You move slow. One hit off an enemy and you're dead. You keep dying and you keep reloading and going back to train. You work and you level up, unlocking new stats, growing Henry as a character. It takes a long time in this game, and that's why the payoff is so good. After you put about 80 hours into this game, you will have changed Henry from a useless peasant into an expert warrior. Not only has his stats improved, but so have you, the player. You'll have practiced all the skills over and over, and now you will be a master at them. When you go into the wild and you're ambushed by 5 bandits who had always beaten you before, and you manage to kill all of them without even getting a scratch on you, it's the ultimate payoff. You earned it. You put the time in. You practice your blocking, your dodging. You practice those swings, those movements. You weren't the Dragonborn or the hero, but you became him through hard work. It's the most amazing feeling I've had in gaming, and it's the reason why I love this game so much. There are so many stats to level up, and the fact that they all start off so punishing and difficult makes it even sweeter when you perfect them. It's an unbelievable feeling when you start the game unable to hold a bow correctly, and then you go on to be a master who can hit an enemy 50 yards away. So why do people give up? Well, it's because they're usually either not aware of the payoff, or they don't have the time to get there. If you had sat a younger me down and explained to him that I was supposed to suck at the game at the start, and that eventually it would improve as I practiced, I would probably have stuck around. It was because I didn't know that would happen. The game also takes a lot of time and dedication, and some people just don't have that luxury with lives of their own. But people stop playing this game after finding it too difficult, but if they'd been aware of this payoff, they would have found one of the best games that I've ever played. Younger me didn't get it, and the current me almost wants to go back and explain to him, stick with it, you're meant to be weak, don't give up, work hard, practice, work harder, and you will experience the payoff from that work. You can't expect to be a master after an hour. So, is Kingdom Come Deliverance too hard? Absolutely not. The game has to be hard in order for us to taste defeat, disappointment and frustration. We have to experience those emotions in order for the payoff to have the maximum impact, and for us to feel pride, accomplishment and the sense of overcoming a difficult challenge. Just like the Souls-like games, the difficulty has to be punishing for us to experience the high of the payoff. In this video, I wanted to explain the main reason why Kingdom Come Deliverance divides fans, but honestly, this game is unbelievable. It is so much more than I'm just explaining now, and I do plan to do other videos on it soon. But for players, either new to the game or those considering giving it a second chance, I implore you to play it. Get stuck into it and don't be deterred. Really commit to it, and what you'll get in return is not only one of the best payoffs, but you'll also experience one of the best RPG games ever made. The writing is amazing, the role-playing elements are so immersive, the world is expertly designed and the graphics are stellar. Honestly, give this game a chance and you'll see what I'm talking about. The difficulty in this game will test you, but the payoff when you dedicate time to become an expert will be worth it. This game has a dedicated fanbase and it stands out because of these features. If they were to add a difficulty selection or make it easier, the game would lose a lot of features that have made it so unique. The game stands out as its own brand. Souls games are popular because of their difficulty, and it makes them different to the other hundreds of combat games out there. This is the same for this game. If they were to switch their formula, it would lose so much of what makes it unique, and as a result, it would just blend into the crowd of other open world RPG games. I love Kingdom Come Deliverance because of the game that it is. Changing it would make it a completely different game that I might not enjoy at all. Anyway, that's it for this one. I have to wrap it up now before I go on a 5-hour mantra about everything I love about this game, but what do you guys think? Have you played the game? Do you agree with my points? Why do you love the game? If you don't like it, what was the main thing that put you off? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you enjoy talking about video games, please consider subscribing. I'm Av Gaming, where we discuss what makes great games great and what could make good games great as well. Thanks for watching, Av out.